Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS show for tonight's 8-game slate for Friday, January 22nd. I hope you guys all did well last night. I think it was a pretty good evening for the brand. A lot of the top stacks, actually all the top stacks really went off, had really good nights. They were a little bit chalky though, which was kind of unfortunate, but if you found the right plays, the right goalies, which I think we did as well, some of the good deep punts, then it was a pretty positive night. The two rookie defensemen were a little bit disappointing for us, but Noah Dobson went absolutely crazy. Travis Sanheim had a pretty good night as well. So, some of the deep punts, I definitely played a lot of Dobson's night, last night, sorry. So it was pretty good for me. I hope you guys had a lot of success last night as well. But let's get right into tonight's slate, considering it is quite large. I don't think we get small slates anymore with the new compressed schedule. Everything seems to be pretty much like 6 to 8 games every single night, although we do get a little bit of a reprieve tomorrow, only 6 games on a Saturday, which I thought was surprising. I guess it's not really a reprieve for you guys, more of a reprieve for me, who has to write about all the games. But Tanner says, let's go. Had another great night last night. Yeah, me too. Last night was probably the best night of the year so far for me. And just, it was crazy. Like Barzal scored early and we're like, okay, here we go. Winnipeg was slow to get going. And then once they got going, they were terrific. And it looked like fading Tampa Bay 1 was going to work until overtime. Unfortunately, they scored pretty late. But still, you didn't really need Tampa Bay last night. You didn't really even need Colorado, who did end up having a pretty good night, even though they lost. When fading the chalk line, you normally pick different line from the same team or a similar price line on a different team. You don't really, you just whatever. You kind of just pick the best line that you don't think is going to be chalky. And I think there's definitely a couple of those spots tonight. There's a lot of really good spots tonight. It's going to be an interesting night. I don't think any one line is going to be super, super chalky tonight. It's the well seems to be spread out pretty good. But also Dubois is a punk. Yeah. I said it yesterday. I had no interest in playing Dubois. Just that whole situation is a shit show. So I did not get suckered into playing him. Because you just sat the entire game. So until that resolves itself, I'm not playing any Dubois. Your content is so clutch. Thank you, Tanner. Appreciate the love. As I said, if you guys are enjoying this, make sure you smash that like button. It helps a ton. So anyways, let's get into tonight's slate. The one thing I want to say is the one thing that is good about tuning into Daily Faceoff show is that all the other shows and touts and stuff are normally getting their lineup information from me. And there's a lot of unknowns tonight. A lot of teams did not take morning skates. A lot of teams did not run lines. So you guys will kind of have that firsthand knowledge of what is on Daily Faceoff right now is definitely not 100% in some spots. It's not going to be what happens tonight. And it's just mostly a guess at this point because we have no idea what's going to happen. I do my best. I've done pretty well at projecting lineups in the past. So definitely I'll mention which lines are not 100% certain, and then make sure you keep an eye on Daily Faceoff on Twitter during warm up so that you can pivot wherever you need to. But let's get right into it. Top stack tonight, Colorado won. We didn't love them last night. I said if you're making a bunch of lineups, definitely play a little bit of Colorado 1 because they can go off at any given time, and they did last night again. Tonight they're in an even better spot, so definitely like Colorado 1 tonight. Not a night where I'm going to be fading them. Pittsburgh 1 again. You can find them near the top. Now here's where it starts to get interesting right away. Toronto 1 right now, projected to be Zach Hyman, John Tavares, William Nylander. Sheldon Keefe would not tip his hand as to what his lines are going to look like. So that is something we're going to have to keep an eye on in warm-ups. Luckily, it's the first game of the night, so you'll be able to make your changes there. I wouldn't be shocked if they load up that top line and go Nylander, Tavares, Marner. And then at that point, they would move up to potentially even the top stack of the night. But as of right now, it looks like it could be Hyman, Tavares, Nylander. But again, keep an eye on those things. But even if it's just those three and it's not Marner, it still looks like a pretty good spot for them tonight. Nashville 1 is also looking pretty solid tonight, although it is Dallas's first game of the season. So, you can chalk it up to potentially there's going to be some rust there, or they could be extremely fresh. Although Nashville hasn't played a lot either, so they should be fresh. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously, they look good on paper, but playing Dallas in the first game of the season, anything can really happen. But Nashville 1's been hot to start the season. One of my favorite lines in hockey. Philip Forsberg's got a goal in every game, so Nashville 1 looks good. Yet again, Edmonton 1 looks like they're in a good spot in Toronto again. Hopefully, we get a little bit more of a fast-paced game this time around, not just lockdown defense like Edmonton did the other night. So hopefully, it's a little bit more fast-paced. I would assume that Edmonton will open it up a little bit now that Austin Matthews is out. So that should bode well. Buffalo 1 looks like they're in a really good spot again. But let's break it down a little bit more here. Are any of these caps call-ups good? Yeah, we'll get into the caps a little bit here in a little bit, but I don't really have a whole lot of interest in them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So we'll start with that game right away. We got Buffalo in Washington. Vitek Vanacek goes for Washington with Ilya Samsonov. He confirmed positive case, so it could be Vanacek's net here for the foreseeable future. Linus Ullmark returns after the passing of his father to start against Washington. Frederik Andersen expected to go for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mikko Koskinen likely to start for the Oilers. They don't have another goalie, so he's going. Don't worry about that one. Tristan Jarry back in net for the Penguins. Igor Shesterkin goes for the Rangers. Cam Talbot likely for the Wild. They called it 99%, so that's pretty much confirmed. Devin Doubnik revenge tour back in Minnesota tonight. He's super cheap. I have a little bit of interest in him, but again, we'll talk about goalies a little bit later. Kevin Lankin makes his second straight start. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce that name, but that's what I'm going to do. Thomas Greiss expected to go for Detroit as they continue to rotate goalies. Anton Hudobin gets the opening night start. Obviously, Ben Bishop injured for a long stretch here, so it is going to be Hudobin's net, just like it was in the playoffs. UC Saros most likely for the Predators. But either way, if you're in on Saros, Pecorine looked sharp as well. So either way you want to go with Predators goalie is fine with me. Whoever they start, I should say. Darcy Kemper back in net for the Coyotes. Robin Lehner expected to go for Vegas. He did not skate this morning. I think he just took the day off, which kind of furthers the expectation of him starting tonight. John Gibson got the last game off, so he's almost certain to go for the Ducks. And Philip Grubauer back in after sitting yesterday. So let's go back up to the top here. We've got the Capitals and Sabres. So if you guys have been living under a rock, Brock, please unspam me on DFO Discuss. Oh, I did not know that was a thing. I'll definitely do that. If you could reach out to me on Twitter, I'll be happy to do that. I don't know how that happened. Darlene, 4 points tonight. Do you think the Rangers score against Pitt? Goalie has not been super great. One big last night, says Jake the Snake. Good picks. Thank you very much. Congratulations. I just give you a little bit of more information. You built the lineup, so it's all you. Good for you on winning big last night. So let's start with this Buffalo game. So I like Buffalo 1 a lot. I'll get to that as to why I like them a lot tonight. As for Washington, their lines are a disaster. I'll bring them up here. If you haven't been aware, you're not aware, Alex Ovechkin is out. Evgeny Kuznetsov is out. Their goalie is out, Ilya Samsonov, and Dmitry Orlov. All 4 of them are out. So these lines are a bit of a disaster. Their third line becomes their second line. Their first line becomes basically just like their best players minus TJ Oshie as of what's left. And when those guys have been together in the past, speaking of Washington 1, so now that is Verona, Backstrom, Wilson, they've been an absolute nightmare, giving up 36 scoring chances against per 60. So they are expected to play primarily against the Jack Eichel line tonight. 42% of Eichel's minutes are expected to come at even strength. They're expected to come against that Backstrom line, which has surrendered a shitload of chances in the past without Ovechkin, without Oshie. Whenever he's been playing with Verona, Verona Backstrom just have not looked very good defensively, that is. So definitely a terrific spot here. 36, like I said, scoring chances against. Buffalo 1's been off to a nice start. 28 scoring chances, 4 per 60 since adding Hall into the mix. So they look like they're in a great spot. If you look over here on the Buffalo side of things, they've been giving up almost nothing defensively. So with the new lines in Washington, I'm not a huge fan of Washington on this slate. Buffalo has looked pretty solid defensively so far. So if you were going to play anybody from Washington, for me, it is that second line, Lars Eller. They bumped TJ Oshie down to that second line last game to try to spark that third line, and it worked. So if you are going to play Washington, I would suggest that you go with Washington 2, maybe Lars Eller, TJ Oshie mini. They're expected to see the majority of their ice time coming against Buffalo 2. Which has not been very good. Eric Stahl, they haven't been very good offensively, I should say. They've been terrific defensively, but offensively, they've done absolutely nothing. So I think it's an okay spot for Washington too, but again, not a huge fan of anything really on the Washington side right now. Probably a little bit of distraction going on there too. So if I'm anywhere in this game, I'm going to be on Buffalo 100%. Please take the videos off the DFO page. LOL. Yeah. No comment. I got to make some money somehow, but I am trying to clean it up a little bit, get rid of those videos if we can clean it up because I'm not even a huge fan. But they make me good money. So Edmonton Oilers, Toronto Maple Leafs. So again, like I said, hopefully it is a little bit higher scoring tonight. You've got Toronto 1. Again, it depending on how the lines shake out. Could look even better if Marner ends up playing there. If it's just this, though, I still don't mind it. I mean, Zach commanded like 10 shots the other night. That was crazy. Not going to expect that to happen again. But John Tavares, William Nylander looked much better this year, and they are still very reasonably priced. Tavares just 6,600, Willie just 5,700. The really good thing about them tonight is Matthews has been playing considerably more. Matthews and Marner, that is, have been playing considerably more than Tavares and Nylander at even strength this season. That should not be the case tonight. Tavares should play all the minutes he can handle. At least see a pretty good increase from what he's been playing recently. I think Matthews is averaging like 4 more minutes per night at even strength than Tavares. So a nice couple minute bump for Tavares and Nylander should go a long way tonight. Again, obviously Edmonton 1 is up there. Always like a McDavid line. But Toronto 2 is also up there as well. Again, completely projected at this point, whether or not it's actually Ilya Mikheyev on that line. I have no idea. I would assume Alex Kerfoot moves up. I have interest in Alex Kerfoot, especially if you're stacking other lines. I think he's a fine one-off play even. Not a guy that shoots a ton, not a guy that puts up a ton of offensive numbers, but at just 2,700 with his increased minutes tonight or projected increased minutes tonight, he should be in a pretty decent spot. So Buffalo and the Rangers are going to score a ton tonight. Yes, I definitely like Buffalo. We will get to the Rangers a little bit in a bit here. But so if we're looking at Toronto game, 55% of the ice time for the John Tavares line is expected to come against Connor McDavid. And that's a pretty good matchup for both of these guys. So you've got John Tavares' line here averaging 34 scoring chances, 4 per 60. McDavid's line so far this year has been really, really solid defensively. But at some point, when you're averaging 34 scoring chances, 4 per 60, that is an elite number. So you don't really worry too much about the McDavid defense effect here. Historically, McDavid's line numbers haven't been as strong as they are right now. Obviously, the addition of Nugent Hopkins to that line is helping a lot, but it's not, it does not going to scare me away from the Tavares line. And like I said, he's only expected to play forward 55% of his ice time against him. The rest of it is going to come against the other 3 lines of the Edmonton Oilers, who are not very good defensively, particularly that Leon Draisaitl line. Then again, though, if we're looking at Edmonton, they are expected to see a lot of ice time against the Tavares line, who has been equally as impressive defensively this year, but it's still Connor McDavid. And as long as this game opens up a little bit tonight, I think both of these lines have chance to go off. Again, we've talked about it in recent episodes. If you've been listening, Edmonton 2 just hasn't been producing the numbers you'd expect from a Leon Draisaitl line. It looks like he's missing Ryan Nugent-Hopkins quite a bit. Dominic Cahoon hasn't been able to fill that void quite as well. So I'm not, they were terrific the other night, like in terms of DraftKings, but Yamamoto scored a goal. He didn't even get a shot. I mean, it was so fluky. The fact that he even picked up any DraftKings points at all. So I'm not an Edmonton 2 tonight. I'll play some Edmonton 1, but I'm not crazy high on them because I'm a little nervous. It's going to be low scoring again. Panic at the min price. Yeah, Richard Panik is very cheap tonight. It all just depends how those lines end up working out. Right now, he is expected to play with Lars Eller and TJ Oshie. They ran those lines yesterday. They ran those lines in the morning skate today. Like I said, if you're going to play Washington 2 is the play for me. Even Lars Eller is extremely cheap at 3,500. So that whole line is extremely cheap. And there's, a lot of the good options tonight, or the top options, are super expensive. And if you play Washington 2, it allows you to get some of those really, really high priced good options in there. And they're going to play as many minutes as they can. I mean, you're going to see a huge bump for Lars Eller tonight. Their second or their third and fourth line, you got Nick Dowd. He's a 4th line center, and Brian Pinho, making his NHL debut. I don't think those two lines are going to play a lot of minutes. So you're going to get a lot of ice time, a lot of exposure with Panik, Eller, and Oshie for certain. Let's go back. So yeah, I don't think there's too much more to be said. Obviously, Connor McDavid's always in place. So put Neal in place of Cassie, and yeah, they're not. Doesn't look like they're going to do that. At least not at even strength to start tonight's game. But James Neal is back on power play 1 tonight. So I mean, you can definitely one-off James Neal if you want to punt him. He's the min price, I believe. So if you want, and you can kind of just play him because he's on PP1 and hope that maybe he does end up getting moved up if he comes out looking okay. He's 2,600, so just 100 over the min. Let's go to the third game of the night, Pittsburgh and New York. So Pittsburgh's been giving up a shitload of offense this year. Penguins won is my number 2 stack of the night, but it's very bizarre because the Penguins' numbers at even strength are outstanding. It doesn't look like a spot where the Rangers are really in that great of a spot in terms of just the head-to-head matchups, but I'm still definitely on the Rangers tonight because Penguins have one of the worst penalty kills to start this season. Tristan Jarry has not looked sharp. So I'm not going to let these really strong underlying numbers scare me off of the Rangers tonight. If I'm going to play the Rangers tonight, it's going to be New York 2. The Panarin, Strome line. They get a massive boost by adding Pavel Buchnevich to the right wing. Lafreniere was their last game. Obviously, I like Lafreniere being a number 1 pick, and I think he was only like 3,300. But adding Buchnevich to that line really boosts their numbers. I mean, they're just outstanding across the board. 36 scoring chances, 4 per 60. The highest expected goal for rate on the entire slate. 18 high danger chances for, just outrageous numbers. So even though they are expected to see quite a bit of the McDavid line and the Teddy Bluger line, both of whom are pretty solid defensively, it just isn't going to scare me away. They're just too talented. They're too good. Ryan Strome has looked pretty shitty, to be honest, through the first few games of the season, but Tristan Jarry's looked just as bad. So if there's a night where the Rangers are going to kind of get going, it is going to probably be against the Penguins. The other thing going for the Rangers is the Penguins are without 3 of their better, I don't know if I want to say better defensemen, but they don't have Marcus Pettersson, which is a huge loss. Him and John Marino are a really, really strong second pairing for them. So losing him's not good. Mike Matheson's out for a long time, which means Cody Cece's back in. So their blue line's a mess right now. So, even though these 5v5 numbers are solid for all of the Penguins lines, their blue line's in absolute shambles and their goaltender's not playing well. So I think that the Rangers are definitely still in play. But again, I also really like Penguins 1 tonight. So far this year, they've looked pretty strong. We do know for certain now that Kasperi Kapanen is going to start the game there tonight, and he comes in at just 3,900. So you can stack the entire Penguins top line for relatively cheap at just 17,800. So they're definitely a strong play for me. I have a little bit of interest in Pittsburgh too as well. Who are expected to see the majority of the Zibanejad and the Heidel line. Heidel's been pretty solid at even strength this year, but the same cannot be said again about Zibanejad, giving up 34 scoring chances against. Malkin did finally get on the board last game, so if there is an opportunity where Malkin is going to break out, it would be in this matchup. So I think that this game has the potential to be very high scoring tonight. It doesn't grade super high on my pace scale, but I still think this is a game I want a lot of exposure to because it could get very high scoring very quickly. We have not seen the Penguins play a low scoring game yet this season. Lafreniere or Nemesnikov as one-offs. That's a really difficult question for me because as a Red Wing fan, I would have loved to see Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha back together tonight. And I still think it could happen. They're another line that you have to keep an eye on in warmups. They didn't skate this morning, but playing against a Chicago team that really only has one good line, and that's Patrick Kane. I mean, the Kubalik and Strome line's fine too, but I would be matching up Larkin against Patrick Kane and winning that matchup all night and trying to win the game. But if they stay with these broken up lines, I think Nemestikov's a fine play. Larkin plays a shitload. So, but I like Lafreniere as well. I would maybe probably play both of them if you're doing multiple lineups because Lafreniere is expected to skate with Mika Zibanejad. You can't go wrong there as long as Mika starts getting his game underneath him. Proc, don't forget to unspam. Yeah, I won't. No problem. Grice or Bernier starting. It's unconfirmed right now, but they've been rotating, so I expect Grice to be in net for the Red Wings tonight. So yeah, just to reiterate, New York 2 for me is the better of the two options. In New York, Pittsburgh one's the better of the two options for the Penguins. I don't really have a lot of interest in the other lines. Although if you need to go really cheap, Philip Heidel has looked really solid since Capo Caco was dropped down to that line. So I don't hate a Heidel Caco mini stack if you need to find some salary savings and you want to get exposure to that game. They've been really, really strong early on here. So Caco just 3,000, Heidel just 3,400. So not a bad little mini if you're trying to save some salary to play some of these other top lines. Moving on to the third, maybe fourth, I don't know. Either way, it's the Wild and the Sharks. Devin Doubnik returns home. I don't know how much I'm going to play this game either. The Sharks are giving up a ton of chances at even strength and on the power play. Erik Karlsson and Marc-Edouard Vlasic have been getting caved in all season long so far. So there is a little bit of interest for me on the Minnesota side. If I'm going to be playing Minnesota, the only line I have interest in is that top line, which features Kirill Kaprizov. He's still only 5,200, so he's still way too cheap for his skill level. And Zach Parise, just 4,400, is way too cheap for his pretty steady shot volume. So they don't grade out great in the 5v5 matchups, but I do like them a little bit tonight. San Jose 1 grades out really high on my board, and that's just because their underlying numbers are terrific, but their matchup is pretty brutal. They are expected to see a lot of the second line from Minnesota, and really nobody on Minnesota gives up any offense. And that's why I've been a big fan of Cam Talbot coming into the season for season-long leagues, and I've played them every single Minnesota game this season. They just don't give up a lot of opportunities, and I don't expect them to tonight. So I don't have a lot of interest in San Jose, but that top line, I think a lot of people will stay away from them just because it is a tough matchup with Minnesota, and their numbers are terrific, though. So I wouldn't fault you if you did want to play them. I mean, they're averaging 39 scoring chances for per 60, 18 high danger chances for. So that's one of the high price lines that will definitely come in a lot lower owned. I know somebody asked earlier about, who do you pivot to if you want to get off the chalk? And I think San Jose 1 is a really good way to do that tonight. I don't think that they're going to be super high owned, but just know that there is risk going up against a Minnesota team that is pretty stout defensively. Do you expect D'Angelo to be back on power play 1? Maybe. I mean, Fox looked really strong last game, and I think they're just trying to send a message to D'Angelo. But he is on PP2 tonight. He is super cheap. I don't hate playing D'Angelo tonight. He's got something to prove, and he is still going to be seeing some power play time. And he's probably their best option on the power play, so I would agree that I think he should be back there eventually. But who knows with that guy? He's a nightmare. This just has to be the perfect game to get Fiala back on track. Yeah, I agree. I think Fiala's got like 28 shots and no goals to show for it through 4 games or 5 games or whatever it's been. So yeah, Fiala's going to find the back of the net eventually. Again, every time I talk about Minnesota, I talk about that Kaprizov line. But I would not, I have no interest in playing Victor Rask. So if you're going to play Minnesota, I have no problem throwing Kevin Fiala in with Parise and Kaprizov. And kind of going a little bit more on of a power play stack. Matt Dumba's looked really good early on too. So if you really want to go contrarian and power play stack Minnesota, it's definitely in play because San Jose is giving up a ton of offense. And Devin Doubnik, although it is a good story, him returning home, the narrative is there. He is only 6,900. I do have a little bit of interest in him, to be honest, because he's so cheap. And it's not like Minnesota is this powerhouse offensively, but Minnesota power play stack would definitely be a contrarian option. And they're very cheap. You can stack them. They're, I shouldn't say very cheap, but you can full stack them for like less than 15,000, and you can get them with some high priced options. And if they light Dubnik up, then you're laughing. Yeah, Fox is going to continue as PP1 quarterback at least for now. But who knows? Who wins Shark or Wild? I mean, it's a terrible question because I have no idea. I would lean towards the Wild, but I have if you're cramming in some of these really expensive options, like if you want to play Colorado 1 with Pittsburgh 1 or Toronto 1 with Marner, you have to play Dubnik basically. So I have no problem playing Dubnik at 6,900. It could be a low scoring game. It's not like Minnesota is this offensive powerhouse. So, I think Minnesota probably wins the game, but I'm 100% going to have some Dubnik tonight, unfortunately. There's just not that many cheap goalie options tonight. Fiala is so good, and he shows up twice. Oh, does he? Well, that's good. I got to fix that. Should probably do that while I talk here. So yeah, Dallas Stars make their season debut against the Predators. So the one thing that's really interesting to me is how high Nashville grades out because they typically play a lot of ice time against the um, sorry, the third line of Dallas, which is the Radek Faxa line, which is one of the best shutdown lines in hockey. But when I was going through the numbers today, I was very interested to find out that without Blake Como, their numbers are an absolute tire fire. So I don't know if that's just a small sample size issue or what. I think it was about 90 to 100 minutes. So the sample size isn't huge, but it's not overly small either without Blake Como. So if that's the case, if they really are that bad without Como, if he helps out that Faxa line that much, then it's a great spot for Nashville one. Although I am a little worried about how high they grade out. I wouldn't go over the moon on Nashville one, but I'm definitely going to play them a little bit because that matchup does look great. Hudobin had a great run last year, but he's still Anton Hudobin. He's not like this elite goaltender that I'm terrified of in terms of DFS. So I'm definitely going to have some Nashville one. Their numbers are outstanding, almost averaging 31 scoring chances, 4 per 60. 66 Corsi 4, almost 67 Corsi 4 per 60. So they're firing everything at the net, and that's what you like in DFS. Are there any Dallas guys that are severely mispriced? I haven't had a chance to completely look into that. To be honest with you, I think that they're, Gurionov at 4,700 seems rather low to me. He's the shooting option on their top power play unit. So Gurionov, I have definitely some interest. Rupe Hintz, just 4,200. And he's on the top line. So those two guys stand out to me as being pretty underpriced for their first game of the season. Jamie Alexiak as well. I'll get to all my deep hunts later in the episode, but Jamie Alexiak, definitely a favorite of mine. In DFS, he just plays a ton with Heiskin and blocks a ton of shots. He's only 2,600 tonight. So I like Alexiak, super cheap tonight too. But other than that, pricing seems pretty good for them. I just don't love the matchup for them tonight. Especially, you've got this Dallas's top line is expected to see 63% of their ice time against the Predators' second line. And if we look at the Predators' second line, they've been pretty solid this year. They do get Mikael Granlund back tonight. He's going to make his season debut. So there's definitely some interest on the Nashville 2 side of things, too. They've been pretty solid. Duchesne's looked like a strong player this year, and Granlund's the minimum price. That's what makes it interesting for me. So I'm going to probably be a little bit more on the Nashville side of things tonight. I do like UC Saros at 7,800. I think the Stars are going to have some rust to shake off, and it's not like the Stars team is a high-powered offensive juggernaut at all. They win games by playing defense. They win low-scoring games. So I really like Saros, who's looked terrific thus far. So I'm probably going to be playing the Predators tonight. I'm probably going to have a lot of Saros or Rene, whoever ends up starting. Yeah, I skipped the Chicago game. I knew that. I just saw that. I'm going to go back to that. Mikael Granlund is back. He seems like a good one off for 2,500. Yeah, I just said that. He is definitely an outstanding play at the minimum price, playing with Matt Duchene, and should see some power play time as well. So Detroit and Chicago, I don't have a ton of interest in this game either. Although, two brutal teams could turn out to be a track meet. If Detroit won, ends up getting reunited, I love them tonight. I love Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha. I will definitely play them a bunch. If they're broken up like they were last game against Columbus, I am not going to be playing any Detroit. Maybe a one-off here and there, but if they're broken up, it could have just been a matchup thing to try to match up against Columbus, because Columbus does like to roll 4 lines deep. So now that Chicago's a little bit thinner up front, Detroit could go back to that Bertuzzi, Larkin, Mantha line tonight. And if that's the case, I would definitely have some interest in them. So maybe if you're making multiple lineups, keep an eye out at 7:30 when warm-up start. I'll definitely let you guys know what their lines are and get some Detroit one in there if they're available. On the other side, I'm not crazy high on this Kane line. Their numbers haven't been very good to start off this season, although it is a good matchup with the Red Wings. I do have more interest in their second line with a little mini stack between Dylan Strome and Dominik Kubalik. Looks really strong here. If you want to play Kurashev because you got to save some salary, that's fine too. But Kubalik and Strome mini stack looks pretty good tonight. I don't love any other defensemen. Boquist is fine. He just doesn't shoot enough for me to really want to pay for him. But he is, I think, he's up to 3,900. So I don't really have a ton of interest in playing Boquist. He does have 3 assists in 4 games, but if I'm going to play Chicago tonight, it's probably going to be a Strome, DeBrincat mini stack, and then again Detroit if their top line is reunited. Arizona and the Golden Knights is interesting. This is another game where I have no idea what the lines are going to look like. They said that Barrett Hayton is back in, so great. He's going to be playing center instead of the wing now. We know that. But who his line mates are going to be, I have no idea. The only line I know for sure, Brassard, Dvorak, and Pitlick are going to be playing together. They just decided to put that line together, so that's great. But the rest of this lineup, I have no idea. And to be honest with you, Arizona's underlying numbers have been strong, but their best line has been Keller, Brassard, and Pitlick, and they broke that up. So I'm not really sure there. I don't have a ton of interest. If Keller and Kessler together, I might go there, but Vegas is really, really stout. So I'm probably not going to be looking at Arizona too much, but I do have a little bit of interest in Victor Soderstrom. Last night, the rookie defenseman D punts absolutely burned us, but Soderstrom is expected to see some power play time, which was not for sure with Byram, which he didn't end up seeing any. And Heinola just didn't really play enough. But Soderstrom is expected to see top power play minutes. It could change and he could end up on PP2, but either way, at the minimum price, if he ends up on this top power play unit, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with punting him at the minimum price. He is a really, really good offensive defenseman. So, I'll go back to the well a little bit on the rookie defenseman here. Do I like Greiss as a goalie? Yes, I do. The Red Wings goaltending has looked terrific this year, believe it or not. And Thomas Greiss especially has looked really strong. So I do like Greiss. He's not super cheap though. I was hoping he'd be cheaper, because he's, the Red Wings goalie. He should never be that expensive, but at 7,700, I do like Greiss. I probably, I'm not going to play him too much just because, he's $100 cheaper than Saros. And I have a little bit more faith in Saros than I do starting a Red Wings goalie. First time on your channel. Yeah, thanks for showing up, Alex. Really appreciate it. Patty Kane is a one-off. Yeah, absolutely. Patty Kane against the Red Wings, always a one-off. I am a little concerned about their numbers. Like that Pius Suter guy hasn't really stepped in and done that well in that top line. I would like to see him with Kubalik and Strome if he's really going to go off. But yeah, he's fine as a one-off. I think his price is pretty decent if I'm not mistaken. 7,200. It's not too bad. But yeah, I'm not going to have a ton of that game. But if I have room to one-off Patrick Kane, I'll always do that against the Red Wings. Vegas, didn't get a chance to talk about them too much. Running a little bit long today because of how many games there are. But Vegas, always a strong option. Their top three lines are all producing terrific numbers. I think Alex Tuck's a fine one-off play again tonight like he was the other night because he's expected to remain on that top power play unit. And even that third line has been putting up terrific 5v5 numbers as well. So, if we look at the big board here again, Vegas one continues to grade out pretty well. I am surprised that their numbers aren't a little bit better than they were or as they were last year. Their numbers have come down a little bit. So I think there are better options on this slate tonight. I mean, it is the third time in 5 nights that the Vegas Golden Knights and the Coyotes have played each other. So, maybe they're figuring them out a little bit. Darcy Kemper remains really, really stout goalie, but I think that there are better options out there. But as always, Max Pacioretty at 7,300. If Patrick Kane's a good one-off, Max Pacioretty just $100 more is definitely a good one-off as well tonight. So I'm probably not going to stack them too much, but I do like Pacioretty as a one-off. Kubalik was never a scorer, not even a junior. Why now? He was terrific in the Swiss League before he came over, but he was never like a huge scorer. But he's just got a bomb. He's a terrific shooter. So he is now. I have no idea why. Maybe he changed something, but he is a terrific shooter, and I trust him. I don't even know what his price is. I haven't had a chance to look. 4,600. Yeah, he's way too cheap, especially against the Red Wings. That is a really nice mini stack with Dylan Strome. They grade out nicely for me. So the last game of the night is Anaheim and Colorado. So as you know, Colorado tops my big board tonight. And here's the reason why. Well, for obvious reasons, they're outstanding. But the big reason is they're supposed to see 57% of their ice time against the Ducks' fourth line, the Derek Grant line. They like to use him in a shutdown role. Let's go look at Derek Grant's numbers. He's giving up 28 scoring chances against per 60, that line. Giving up a ton of shot volume, a ton of high danger scoring chances, and obviously Colorado One's numbers are just outstanding. So Colorado One is clearly one of the top options tonight. They've been red hot all season long. It is going to be difficult to full stack them with any of these other top lines. So I often leave Landeskog off when I stack Colorado One with another high price line. Rantanen and McKinnon usually seem to do the majority of the damage. Sometimes leaving Landeskog off can definitely burn you, but if you want to get another one of those high price lines in, you can fit them in with Pittsburgh One with Kapanen's price. You got to get punty. Like, you're going to have to play some really cheap defensemen tonight. You're going to have to play a shitty goalie, most likely. Am I jinxing Stone again tonight? Yeah, maybe. I just don't play Stone that much. He just doesn't shoot. Like, I think he's tied for the league leading points right now, though. Like, so I should probably play him more. So maybe I am, but he just doesn't shoot enough. Like, I never trust him because he's always a little bit too expensive. But no interest really in Anaheim, especially because, again, they're another one of those teams. I have no idea what their lines are going to look like. Sonny Milano went on IR. Max Jones is coming up. Jones usually plays with Sam Steele. He might play with Getzlaf. I have no idea, but I really don't care that much. Grubauer is solid. I'm not going to play the Ducks. I'm not going to go there. But okay, let's talk about D and goalies before we head off. Enjoy your guys' Friday night and all that stuff. Pretty sure if my fiance has dinner ready right now too, I should probably go eat dinner. But defense, talk about the cheap D. We've been hitting on a lot lately. There's a lot of good ones out there tonight. Starting with Tony DeAngelo, I think he's fine at 3,700. He is going to see some power play exposure. It should be a high scoring game. You can correlate him a little bit with Rangers One with Buchnevich on that second power play unit. So there's a little bit of correlation there. And you're not going to probably be able to fit Fox in. If you can't fit Fox, great, fit him in. I did read something very interesting today, though, going back to that Rangers game. It's basically they're going to try to get Crosby out there as much as they can against Tony DeAngelo and Jack Johnson. So that's just another reason to absolutely love the Penguins tonight, because Jack Johnson and Tony DeAngelo are going to get killed. They're going to get absolutely crushed. Adam Larson at 3,500, another fine D punch if you need to go down there. He's been blocking shots like crazy. The Maple Leafs are a team that shoots a lot, so there should be an abundance of opportunity for him to block shots tonight. In the first 4 games of the season, he's blocked 6, 4, 2, and 5 shots. So Adam Larson's kind of a really steady floor guy. And then obviously whenever you're playing with Edmonton, you have the opportunity to pick up some points just by playing with Connor McDavid. So he's pretty solid. John Marino is really underpriced too at 3,000. If you can't fit in any of the high priced Penguins defensemen, John Marino is fine. Usually plays quite a bit with the Penguins top 6, and he should see a lot of minutes tonight. He played 26 minutes the other night. He should continue to see a ton of usage with how thin that blue line is getting right now. So like John Marino, I like Cam Fowler. I said I wasn't going to play any Ducks, but I lied. Cam Fowler at 3,000 is ridiculously cheap for him. He plays over 22 minutes every single night. So Cam Fowler at 3,000 as a one-off D punch is totally fine. I am definitely going to be going back to the well with Justin Hall. Continues to see a ton of minutes. His minutes should actually go up tonight because they're only dressing 6 defensemen instead of 7 like they have in recent games. So he should be up over 20 minutes tonight. Continues to block a bunch of shots. I've been chipping in a few shots there as well. So Justin Hall, I paid off first the other night. No reason not to go back to him in a game that should be high paced or high event, I should say. Mario Ferraro, another deep punt that I really like tonight at 2,700. He does see some power play time on the second unit. He's been racking up a couple shots, couple blocks seemingly every game. It only takes one extra block for him to hit that 3-shot bonus, sprinkle in another couple shots, and you got a double-digit DraftKings point night for Mario Ferraro. And he's a talented player. They really like him in San Jose. I've been talking about him for a couple episodes now. So another super cheap option. There's a lot of them tonight. Ethan Bear. It all depends on who you're playing. Like I like Ethan Bear again. If you're playing Edmonton One, if you're playing Connor McDavid, I like Ethan Bear at 2,700. He always plays a lot of 5v5 minutes with McDavid, so there is some correlation there at 5v5. Off to a bit of a slow start, but just 2,700. What do you expect to happen with Detroit's lines with Zadina going on COVID list? Oh, did he? Oh, great. I have no idea. Hopefully they reunite that top line because that's really their only option and their only chance of winning this game. But again, tune into Twitter during warmups because I have no clue. You used my draft kit for NHL 20 game. Nice. Congratulations. NHL 20 is terrific. And then, yeah, the last one for me is Jamie Alexiak at 2,600, just a guy that blocks a bunch of shots. Obviously, it all depends who you're playing. You're going to want to try to correlate with the lines that you're playing, but there are a ton. There's an abundance of cheap D-men tonight. So you should have no problem jamming in a bunch of those cheap D-men and playing some of these really expensive lines. In terms of goalies, I'm probably not going to pay up too high tonight. Like I said, my favorites are UC Saros. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to have some Doubnik in where I have to at 6,900. I don't mind Grace at 7,700. You can definitely play some Laner at 8,400. That's fine. Grubauer 8,500. That should be, you should be able to lock in some wins, particularly with Grubauer. If you have the salary, Grubauer is probably the top option of the night at 8,500. But I know that a lot of these top lines are really expensive tonight, so you're probably going to have to pay down a little bit. Where can you get the matchup stats on this Google Doc? So yeah, you have to be a premium subscriber at Daily Faceoff. You can access those as all of this as well as a lineup optimizer to help build your lineups quickly. So yeah, you have to become a DFO premium subscriber to get access to these, and that is as cheap as $9.99. White Cloud, we're trying to get. Yep, they're going back to 6 defensemen as well. Actually, 5 defensemen, I should say. Sorry. So yeah, White Cloud's definitely worth trying again as well. He's been pretty solid to start the year. Going back to 5 defensemen should mean some increased ice time for him as well. So whenever I play a guy and he doesn't play well, I do usually go back because a lot of times it's not going to happen 2 games in a row. So if you played White Cloud, if you're going to be playing Vegas again tonight, I would go back to White Cloud for sure. But yeah, we're up above the 46-minute mark here, so I think that's all the time I've got. Happy Friday to everybody. Thanks for tuning in again. Smash that like button if you could, because it helps a lot. So good luck to everybody on this beautiful 8-game Friday slate. Obviously, I am not going to be here tomorrow or Sunday, but I will be back with another show on Monday. So good luck to everybody tonight. Thank you for tuning in. We set another record for amount of live viewers we've had. So every day we keep getting bigger. So keep spreading the word, keep hammering that like button. And you are a premium subscriber. Okay, so yeah, it took me a little bit to upload the charts today, but they are up there now. So if you refresh it, they should be there. I'll double check here when I get off. But they were just added about 15 minutes before I came on live. So refresh, they should be there. And if they're not, I will add them in the next 2 minutes. Anyways, enjoy your guys' Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys back here on Monday.